Thank you, Senator Sheldon, and I believe Senator Farrell is seeking the call. Senator Farrell.
Thank you, President. I wish to advise the chamber of changes to ministerial arrangements for today. Senator Wong is absent from question time on account of ministerial business overseas. In her absence, I will represent the Prime Minister, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, the Minister for International Development and the Pacific, the Minister for Defence, the Minister for Veterans Affairs, the Minister for Defence Personnel and the Minister for Defence Industry. No, that'll happen. Senator Gallagher will represent the Minister for Climate Change and Energy and the Minister for Environment and Water. Thank you, President.
Thank you, Senator Farrell. I'm calling. Oh, I thought I was calling Senator Reynolds, but I'm not. I'm calling Senator Ruston.
Thank you. Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Farrell. I refer the Minister to the announced cessation of Operation COVID Shield from the 1st of August. I asked the Minister, could he detail the advice the government received that led you to remove this effective operation at a time when vaccinations remain at the primary defence to the pandemic?
Thank you, Senator Ruston. Senator Farrell.
Thank you, President, and thank the Senator for her question. Look, I think we start any debate about the issue of COVID and what's happened in the past with an understanding of what your government failed to do when you were in.
Minister Farrell, resume your seat. Senator Ruston.
On a point of order on relevance, President, I would just ask you to draw the Minister's attention to the fact that I was actually asking very specifically about advice received about the cessation of Operation COVID Shield and nothing else.
Thank you, Senator Ruston. The Minister has just started his answer. I'll pay particular attention that he remains relevant to the question. Thank you. Continue, please, Minister.
Thank you, Madam President. As I had started to answer the question, President, any debate about what's happened with COVID-19 in this country has to start right back where this government, the opposition, which was the government at the time, failed the people of Australia. We saw it first of all with the issue of closure of the borders. The government was too slow to close the borders when the issue.
Minister, please resume your seat. Senator Ruston.
Thank you, President. Look, with the greatest amount of respect, I would draw on a point of order on relevance. I would draw to your attention that the Minister is not being even remotely relevant to my question, and I would ask you if you could draw him to the substance and only the substance of my question.
Thank you, Senator Reynolds. I do believe the Minister is being relevant. He is talking about the COVID pandemic, which he's entitled to do as part of his response to your question. As you know, I can't direct him to answer the question, but I can be cognisant of relevance, which I am. Please continue, Minister.
Thank you, President. And I think it's Senator Ruston who asked the question. The COVID Shield will cease on the 1st of August 2022, and from this time the functions of the National COVID Vaccine Task Force will return to the arrangements within the Department of Health and Aged Care. The Coordinator General of the COVID Shield, General Fruin, who I had the good fortune to meet last night and congratulate on the role that he has performed in this area, will return to his role as the Chief of Joint Capabilities in the Department of Defence. Now, the Australian Government has ensured that the National COVID-19 vaccination program is providing support for people in Australia and who need to maintain their protection.
Thank you, Minister. Your time has expired. Senator Ruston, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. I would like to ask the Minister, what are the current third and fourth dose rates in residential aged care, and what is the lowest dose rate?
Thank you. Senator Ruston, Minister.
Thank you, President, and thank the Minister for her question. I don't. Obviously, this is not my normal area of responsibility. I know that the country has continued to increase and improve the level of vaccination in this area, and I'll be very happy to get those figures for the Minister. In fact, I right now have the answer to those questions. Thank Senator Gallagher, who does represent the Minister for Health, that very hard-working Mr Butler. Over 3/4 of residents estimated to be eligible for a fourth dose have received a fourth dose, up from around 50% in June 2022, following efforts by the government.
Thank you, Minister. Your time has expired, and I think you undertook to take that on notice for the rest of the question, so I'd appreciate you taking the rest on notice.
Yes, I did, and I will come back as quickly
Thank
as
you.
I can.
Second supplementary, Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much, President, and I'll look forward to clarification of the accuracy of the answer that was just given. With fourth dose rates reported to be as low as 1 in 5 residents in aged care, how is the government going to ensure the safety of older Australians without the support of Operation COVID Shield?
Thank you, Senator Ruston. Minister.
Thank you, President, and thank the Senator for her question. Look, I mean, it's incredible that a government that so failed Australians on the issue of vaccination is now raising issues about how we are rolling out the vaccination program. You failed to close the borders when you should have. You failed to order enough vaccinations. I know you're shaking your head,
Minister?
Senator Birmingham, but that's
Minister,
the absolute
please resume
truth.
your seat. Senator Ruston.
Thank you, President. On a point of order on a matter of relevance, I was was specifically asking in relation to the current wave of COVID in aged care facilities and how the government intends to ensure that residents are vaccinated.
Thank you, Senator Ruston. I will remind the Minister of the question and call the Minister again.
Look, this opposition still doesn't understand why you lost the last election. You lost the last election because you failed the people of Australia on—
Please resume your seat. Senator Ruston.
Yeah. Thank you very much, President. I would draw to your attention that I believe that the Minister is being wholly, completely and utterly irrelevant to the question, not just being not relevant.
Thank you.
And I would ask you to draw his attention
Senator
to the question.
The Minister's got 15 seconds to go. Minister.
Thank you, President. At every stage of this vaccination process, the opposition, which was then the government, was simply too slow.
Minister Farrell, please resume your seat. Senator Birmingham.
President, on the question of direct relevance, you do have within your power the ability to draw the minister to the question. The question was precisely about what this government's plans are. The minister has spent the entirety of the answer talking
Senator
about
Birmingham.
the previous government.
Please resume your seat. You will note that I did draw the minister to the question. I'm not asking you to debate. I did draw the minister back to the question, not the last time Senator Ruston stood up, but the time before that. I directly drew the minister back to the question. Minister, please continue.
Question directly, yeah. But look, you have to understand—
Thank you, Minister. Your time has expired. Senator Walsh.
My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Climate Change and Energy, Senator Gallagher. How is the Albanese government helping to put the climate wars behind us after a decade of climate denial and inaction?
Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, President, and I thank Senator Walsh for the excellent question. The Albanese government's climate change bill is a move to end the climate wars, to say goodbye and good riddance to the 9 years of delay, dysfunction, denial, denigration from the previous government. The fact is that Australia just didn't stand still under the former government. We went backwards. Our reputation on the international stage and investment and confidence was stifled. The legislation that's passed the House is good for jobs, for power bills, for the economy and for our future. The climate change bill that we have introduced and passed and will come to the Senate legislates both a 2050 net zero target and the 2030 43% emissions reductions target, tasks the Climate Change Authority to assess progress against these targets and advise the government on future targets, requires the Minister for Climate Change to report annually to Parliament on progress in meeting our targets, and makes the targets relevant to key agencies like the Clean Energy Finance Corporation and Export Finance Australia. The Albanese government's climate change bill is an opportunity to vote on the side of progress, to vote for our children's future, to vote for a stronger economy. The government knows this, the business community knows this, and Australians know this. The only people who continue to fail— Well, I'm not sure what Senator Thorpe is screaming at me for.
Senator Thorpe,
I mean,
order.
the last I heard, you were agreeing with this bill. I know responding to interjections, but if you have someone yelling at you from down there, it is very hard to ignore it.
Minister, are you calling a point of order? Please resume your seat. Senator Thorpe, you are being disorderly, and I would ask you to show the respect deserved to the minister as she answers the question. Minister, please continue.
Thank you, President. The business community knows it, and the Australian people know it. The only people who continue to fail to understand it are those opposite. Passage of the legislation will mean this parliament collectively draws a line in the sand, saying enough is enough, and our legislation is sensible and achievable.
Your time has expired. Senator Walsh, first supplementary.
What will policy certainty mean for Australian businesses?
Minister.
Thank you, President. And this is an important question about why we are seeking to legislate the target and why it is so important. While our government is acting and working with the parliament in a constructive and open fashion, those on the other side have learnt nothing. Well, maybe some of them have. We think some of them may have learnt something. They're ignoring the message the Australian people sent them in May, but they're also ignoring the broad coalition of support for the bill from right across the business community. The Business Council of Australia, Australian Industry Group, the Minerals Council of Australia, the Australian Institute of Company Directors, the Investor Group on Climate Change, the Australian Energy Council, the Governance Institute of Australia, Responsible Investment Association of Australia, the Australian Council on Superannuation Investors, the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Rio Tinto, and the NAB chair. There are plenty of others that also support these bills, and it's time for the opposition to support it too.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Walsh, second supplementary.
How will Australian households benefit from increased action on climate change driven by the Albanese government's climate change agenda?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. President. We haven't wasted a day on getting on with the job of cleaning up the chaos and division and dysfunction left by the previous government, with Australian households who've been paying the price. The fact is that climate change policy is energy policy and it's good economic policy. We can drive down emissions and drive down power bills at the same time. Our detailed Powering Australia plan will create 604,000 jobs, with 5 out of 6 of them to be created in the regions. It will spur $76 billion worth of investment, and it will deliver 82% renewable energy by 2030, consistent with AEMO's step change scenario, which projects 83% renewable energy. The Powering Australia plan includes modernising our ageing electricity grid, investing in renewable metals, renewable energy, 85 solar banks, 400 community batteries and 10,000 new energy apprenticeships and a new energy skills program, just showing how we can seize the opportunity that comes from this change.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Bragg.
Thank you very much. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Farrell. I refer the Minister to the very sensible question asked by Senator Lambie on Tuesday this week. Are there any circumstances in which it would be in the best financial interests of a superannuation account holder for their superannuation fund to make payments to a political party or to a trade union? If so, in what circumstances?
Minister.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Senator Bragg, for that question. I had the great privilege in a previous life of being a director of one of the best superannuation funds in the country, the Rest the Rest Superannuation Fund. Well, I'm just about to answer this. Senator Ruston.
Senator Farrell.
Don't take the bait. All right. All right. But no. Yeah, that'll be handy. Look, I will preface, despite what Senator Ruston said, I will preface my comments because I had 15 years' experience on one of the best and the biggest superannuation funds in this country, and on not one occasion, was a political donation made to either the Liberal Party, the Labor Party, or any other party. So this idea that industry, particularly industry super funds, are out there handing out monies to political parties, particularly the Labor Party, is simply untrue. It's you know, we used to talk about fake news. You don't hear it that much more so often since President Trump has gone. But Senator Bragg, this is fake news. This is fake news. The job of industry superannuation funds is to get the best return for their members. And in my experience, every one of those funds has been doing exactly what they were asked to do by their members, and that is get the best result possible.
Thank you, Senator Farrell. Your time has expired. Senator Bragg, first supplementary.
Thank you very much. Can the minister guarantee that Australian super funds will not be making any payments to political parties or to trade unions or any other politically affiliated organisation without publicly disclosing the details of such payments to their members?
Minister. Conversations across the chamber are disorderly. Thank you, Senator Chisholm. And the minister was on his feet to answer the question. Minister.
Thank you, President. Look, I can only go back to the first answer I gave you, Senator Bragg, and I know you know, the whole history of the opposition has been one of opposition to industry superannuation. So any chance that you get to bring down or denigrate, yeah, that's the word I need. Thank you, Senator Billick. Any chance the opposition gets to denigrate industry superannuation funds, they will use. Now, the reality is, I mean, I can only give you my own experience of this. I haven't seen any evidence of what you're implying goes on in these industry superannuation funds, but I know from my own personal experience in this area that this is not what union funds do, this is not what industry funds do. Their whole priority, their whole preference—
Thank you, Minister. Your time has expired. Senator Bragg, second supplementary.
I thought they were super funds, not union funds. Why is the government ignoring the views of Super Consumers Australia and the Grattan Institute and many others to unwind the provisions requiring the detailed disclosure of payments to political parties, unions and other organisations? Isn't it just because the Labor Party wants to see these funds flow back into the Labor Party?
Minister. Senator Billick. Minister.
Thank you, President. No, Senator Bragg, what the Labor Party wants to see is the best retirement possible for Australian workers from their industry superannuation fund that fund can deliver for them. That's what the Labor Party wants, and I think that's actually what the members of industry superannuation funds want. They want the people who represent them on the boards of those organisations to do their level best to get the absolute best returns. That's what the board members of those funds should be working on. Just remember, just remember that the job there's an obligation on every single member of a superannuation board to deliver the best results for their members, and that's That's what I believe
Thank you,
every
Minister.
single
Your time
industry
has
fund is doing in
expired.
this country.
Senator Shoebridge.
President, my question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Farrell. The Prime Minister has said that the government has been working behind the scenes and engaging in quiet diplomacy regarding the extradition of Julian Assange. But quiet diplomacy can't be no diplomacy. What exactly is the government doing to secure the release of this Australian citizen, journalist and whistleblower?
Minister.
Thank you, President, and I thank Senator Shoebridge for his question and congratulate him on his election. I think this might be your first question. Well, good luck. And it's on a very important topic, and that relates to Mr Julian Assange. The Australian government has been clear, in our view, that Mr Assange's case has dragged on for too long and that it should now be brought to a close. This is the view that we continue to convey to the governments of both the United Kingdom and the United States, along with our expectations that Mr Assange is entitled to due process, humane and fair treatment, access to proper medical care and access to his legal team. But as the Prime Minister has pointed out, not all foreign affairs is best conducted with a loudhailer or a megaphone, as we saw from the previous government. It's also worth noting that the extradition case is between the United States and the United Kingdom, a legal system that we respect. Australia, of course, is not a party to Mr Assange's case, and as the legal operations still stand, our government, I'm advised, cannot intervene in the legal matters of another country, just like we wouldn't want those countries to intervene in our legal process.
Order.
We will continue to monitor the case closely, and we continue to seek assurances from the United Kingdom government about Mr Assange's welfare and his treatment.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Shoebridge, first supplementary.
Mr Assange's family has been seeking a meeting with Prime Minister Albanese. In fact, they're here in the building today, and I acknowledge his father, John Shipton, and brother Gabrielle, who are in the gallery chamber just behind us.
Order.
Senator,
Order.
why won't the Prime Minister meet with the family and hear directly their concerns, which challenge what you say, concerns about Mr Assange's health, his safety and his future? Why won't you meet?
Minister.
I have met. Well,
Senator
I can't-
Shoebridge, you are disorderly. If you have a point of order, stand and make it. You don't just stand up and shout out. Minister. Minister, I'm calling you. Thank you, Senator Whish-Wilson. Minister.
Thank you. Look, the Prime Minister can speak for himself on this issue, but I have met Mr Shipton. I met him a couple of years ago.
Senator Farrell, please resume your seat. Senator Shoebridge, please resume your seat. You don't half stand and then start shouting out a point of order. In this chamber, you stand and you wait for the call. So if you'd like to stand, and I will call your name, and then if you have a point of order, please make it. Senator Shoebridge.
Point of order, President. The minister is here in his capacity representing the Prime Minister, and that's what was put to the minister, and he was not being relevant in his answer.
Thank you, Senator Shoebridge. I believe the minister is being relevant, and I will continue to listen carefully. And if he's not relevant, I'll point that out to him. Minister.
Thank you, President. I have met Mr Shipton. It was a very moving meeting, and I personally can't think what it would be like to have one of my children incarcerated like Mr Assange has been incarcerated. But look, as I said before, we don't control the legal systems of other countries. We're offering all the support that we can under the consular arrangements, for Mr Shipton's son, and the Prime Minister has said he wants an end to these proceedings. I mean, I don't think he can be clearer.
Thank you, Minister. Your time has expired. Senator Shoebridge, second supplementary.
President, through you, President, the Prime Minister has previously said enough is enough, and you've repeated it here today, Senator. And the government has called for the USA to bring this matter to a close previously. By bringing matters to a close, do you mean allowing Mr Assange to be extradited to the USA, charged and convicted and sentenced for over a century in jail, and then perhaps seeking a prison transfer?
Thank you, Senator Shoebridge. Minister.
Thank you, President, and thank Senator Shoebridge for his question. Look, the Prime Minister has been extremely clear about what the policy and the position of the Australian government is. We want to bring this matter to a close. I think it's worth making a couple of points. That Mr Assange actually withdrew in June 2019 his consent for us to inquire about his health and his personal circumstances, and we've sought to receive assurances. Well, I'm not blaming him, Senator Shoebridge. I'm not blaming him. I'm simply pointing out that he withdrew consular assistance that the Australian government was providing.
Order.
Well, I've told you what I've done. I've met with Mr Shipton.
Minister Farrell, please direct your answers to the chair. Please continue. I believe the time has expired. Thank you. Senator Ciccone.
Thank you very much, President. My question is to the Minister for Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry, Senator Watt. Exotic animal diseases such as foot-and-mouth disease and lumpy skin disease have the potential to pose a very serious threat to our livestock industry. Can the Minister please update the Senate on the steps that this government is taking to ensure that our nation is prepared should an outbreak occur?
Minister Watt.
Thank you, Senator Ciccone, for your ongoing interest in this important matter. As I have consistently said, the first point to make in anything regarding this matter is that Australia remains foot-and-mouth disease free, and the Albanese government is working hard in partnership with the states, territories and industries to keep it that way. While the risk of foot-and-mouth disease or lumpy skin disease entering Australia is low, it is not zero. And as I've said before, experts have assessed the risk of a foot-and-mouth disease outbreak in Australia over the next 5 years at 11.6% and a lumpy skin disease outbreak at 28%. We cannot assume it will stay that way, and that's why we need to keep doing more. I've previously spoken of our two-pronged approach, taking action at home and abroad, and I'm pleased to announce today a new third prong, taking action now to ensure we are fully prepared if an outbreak were to occur here. That's why earlier today I announced the creation of a new exotic animal disease task force to ensure Australia is fully prepared to respond swiftly to growing biosecurity threats. The task force will thoroughly assess our current level of national preparedness and advise of any improvements needed. While the federal, state and territory governments all have well-developed biosecurity response plans in place, we will leave no stone unturned to ensure that we are ready should an outbreak occur. Importantly, this task force will be a vehicle for collaboration across the Commonwealth and will be co-chaired by senior officials from the Department of Agriculture and Emergency Management Australia. It will also include officials from the Defence Force, Border Force and Animal Health Australia. By bringing together the best expertise from across government, we can ensure there are no gaps in our response. I note the National Farmers Federation has welcomed this announcement, saying that, quote, it's the right idea, and this continues the close partnership between the Albanese government and industry in managing biosecurity. Good governments plan for the best and prepare for the worst. That's exactly what we're doing.
Thank you, Minister. Your time has expired. Senator Ciccone, first supplementary.
Thank you very much, President, and I thank the Minister for that answer, and I'm sure the industry is very much appreciative of the decisive action that you're taking on this matter. Could you please explain to the Senate the role that the state and territory governments will play in preparing for a potential biosecurity outbreak in Australia?
Minister Watt.
Thank you, Senator Ciccone. As I've said before, biosecurity is everyone's responsibility, from the federal government through to state and territory governments, as well as farmers, importers, exporters and international travellers. Last night I spoke with each state and territory agriculture minister to inform them of the establishment of the Federal Exotic Animal Disease Preparedness Task Force and to discuss their own efforts to prepare for a foot and mouth disease or lumpy skin disease outbreak should one occur. While the task force will be comprised of federal officials, it will work closely with states and territories. We have also spoken with industry to ensure that their views are being heard, and they will be engaged to assist the task force as required. It is this spirit of collaboration and desire to work together to ensure that state and federal government response plans are robust that is a hallmark of the Albanese government and is something that is deeply appreciated by all levels of government as well as industry. On this side of the chamber, we're focused on getting the job done because this issue and the people it affects are more important than politics.
Senator Ciccone, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. No doubt preparedness is the key to when it comes to dealing with these outbreaks, as we've heard from the minister's answer to my first and second question. Can the minister please advise the Senate what lessons have been taken from the management of previous disease outbreaks in this country?
Minister.
Thank you again, Senator Ciccone. As we all remember, the response to COVID-19 was the most important global human health response in recent memory. If we have learned one thing from this experience, it is that the Australian government needs to be prepared ahead of time for an event as potentially catastrophic as an outbreak of foot and mouth disease. And that means working with all levels of government in a constructive and respectful way. We are determined to not make the same mistakes the previous government did. When COVID hit, the former coalition government wasn't prepared. They were slow to close borders, leaving management to the states, slow on rats and too slow on vaccines, and of course Australians paid the price. When floods and fires hit, the former coalition government wasn't prepared. When the ex-fire chiefs tried to warn them about what was coming, the former government wouldn't even meet them. We won't make the same mistake. If there were to be a major biosecurity outbreak in Australia, there is simply no time for delay, and that's why we've implemented the strongest biosecurity response ever and why we will keep working on preparedness.
Your time has expired. Senator Tyrrell.
Thank you, President. My question is for the Minister representing the Minister for Health and Aged Care, Minister Gallagher. Minister, there are a lot of elderly people in my neck of the woods who rely on community carers to get transport to and from doctors' appointments, mow their lawns and clean their house. Like all of us, the people running community care are paying more on fuel, wages, insurance and rent. But the funding for home care packages and the Commonwealth Home Support Program is only going up 1.7% this year. How does your government expect community care providers to survive on so little?
Senator Gallagher.
Thank you, President, and I thank Senator Tyrrell for the question. I think it's your first question, Senator Tyrrell, so congratulations on that, and appreciate a bit of the heads-up that you gave on this as well. You raised the issue of support for home care and community care services and the indexation rate. This is an issue that has been raised with me in my role as the Minister for Finance, not just from an aged care point of view, but from the majority of those working in the non-government sector at the moment. So this is something that I am looking at closely. There are a range of different ways that indexation applies across payments and programs, and even differences between particular programs get indexed differently, so I am having a pretty close look at that. My understanding is that the Department of Health and Aged Care is aware of the issue. They're working with the sector and looking at a range of approaches to manage some of these impacts on the service provision. I would say that there has been significant investment into the service system over the last couple of years, but the government accepts that with inflation running as high as it is, that is having costs on services, and it's a matter I'm looking at as Minister for Finance.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Tyrrell, first supplementary.
We have organisations in Tasmania who say they'll have to close up shop within the next couple of months. They can't afford to survive. Will the government consider emergency funding to keep the lights on for community care?
Minister.
Thank you, President. And I would say if there are organisations that are are in that position, and I hope that they would be actively engaging with the Department of Health and Aged Care in particular, or the relevant department for which they receive their funding. As I said, there are a range of different ways, different indexation arrangements across government. The government would not want to see essential community services cease. Providing services. They are essential, and particularly in areas where there might not be choice of service as well, where restrictions are there just because of the nature of the service system. So I would say in the first instance, I would say the government doesn't want to see any of those services close based on escalating costs, and we would ask that the organisations either engage with the department or with the minister's office.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Tyrrell, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. Minister, residential aged care is getting a 10% increase in funding in October, but the new Australian National Aged Care Classification won't apply to organisations who help older Australians in their family home. Why shouldn't community care get the same support as residential care?
Minister.
Thank you, President. And I would say, yes, residential aged care gets a lot of, I think, the public attention, but the government accepts that home care and community care is an essential part of our service system for supporting older Australians. It has received increases in funding. I would note that since we've come to government, we have delayed the implementation for the new in-home aged care program by 12 months. Because we had been getting feedback from people about it being too rigid to support older Australians and the conditions and circumstances and the nature of how support is provided. So that is something that we're doing, and we will consult widely and talk to all of those organisations about the best way forward. But our position is that we need that extra 12 months. That's in line with the Royal Commission. And whilst there are significant resources, I think in the order of over $6 billion a year going into
Thank you, Minister. Your
home
time
care
has
at the
expired.
moment.
Senator Davey.
Thank you very much. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Farrell. In 2012, when announcing an additional 450 gigalitres of water recovery over and above sustainable diversion limits detailed in the Basin Plan, then Prime Minister Julia Gillard said the water will be recovered via water, and I quote, water recovery projects that minimise the impact on communities to ensure there is no social and economic downside for communities, end quote. This intent was then written into the 2012 Basin Plan. Does the new Labor government stand by the 2012 commitment to communities for no negative social and economic impacts?
Thank you, Senator Davey. Minister.
Thank you, President, and thank Senator Davey for her question. What the federal Albanese government stands by, Senator, and what Minister Plibersek stands by, is the commitment that we made when we were last in government to restore the health of that mighty river system, the Murray-Darling River system, and in doing that, ensure that the 450 gigalitres of water that was promised to that river system is delivered upon. We don't want life to be any harder for inland communities in this country. There was significant consultation at the time that plan was delivered. I in fact was the deputy water minister to Minister Burke. To Minister Burke, who delivered that system. We made a promise to the people of Australia. We made a promise to all of those people whose livelihood survives along that river system, and the promise that we made was we'll deliver that 450 gigalitres of water. Now, it wasn't just the federal government that entered into that understanding, that promise. It was all of the state governments including those governments that are of a Liberal persuasion now, like New South Wales. So the federal government, the state governments, all committed to the delivery of that 450 gigalitres.
Thank you, Minister.
And
your
we
time
intend to do
for
it.
answering has expired. Senator Davey, first supplementary.
So I take it as a no about your commitment to communities. But in 2018, you mentioned basin state ministers, and I appreciate the segue. In 2018, all basin state ministers, including the Labor South Australian minister and the Labor Victorian minister, agreed to a set of criteria by which they could assess that there would be no negative social or economic impacts from this water recovery. Does the new Labor government respect the consensus of the Ministerial Council?
Time. Minister.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Senator Davey, for her follow-up question. Let's look at what the 9 years of the previous government delivered for these communities and what they delivered for—
Minister, please resume your seat. Senator Davey, wait for the call. Senator Davey.
Point of order relevance. It was a very specific question. I wasn't asking about a history lesson. I was asking about the Basin Ministerial Council.
Well, the minister had just started his response, and I will listen carefully, and if he's not relevant, I will draw him to the question. Please continue, Minister.
Thank you, President. I don't see anything inconsistent with what you've just read out. That has been the commitment of the state governments to what the Labor Party committed to when we were in government more than 9 years ago, and that is the delivery of 450 gigalitres of water. I notice we haven't got one of the South Australians asking this question. Yes, no. The South Australians haven't asked this question because they know that the most important thing for the South Australian community, and I'm speaking now as a South Australian senator, is the delivery of that 450 gigalitres. How much did you deliver in the 9 years you were in government?
Your time has
2
expired.
gigalitres.
Senator Davey, second supplementary. Order.
Thank you. Both New South Wales and Victoria have said on record that they are opposed to buyback. The states are integral to delivering other aspects of the Basin Plan, such as constraints management. In an interview with the Adelaide Advertiser, Ms Plibersek has said that she is open to buybacks. What will the government do if the states walk away from the Basin Plan?
Thank you, Senator Davey. Minister.
Well, I would plead with the states not to walk away from the Basin Plan, because the one bit of hope that the Murray-Darling Basin has is that we deliver on what was agreed more than 9 years ago, 450 gigalitres of water. If we don't, we risk the ongoing survival. If we don't, we risk the ongoing survival of that.
Senator Mackenzie, the minister's answering. Please listen. Please continue, Minister.
Thank you for that protection from Senator Mackenzie. We want a life and a life-giving river system in this country. We know from the droughts in the early part of this century just what it did to the communities along those rivers, and we know what it did to people in South Australia. What Minister Plibersek says is right.
Your time
we
has
will
expired.
do whatever.
Senator Babet.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Climate Change, Senator Gallagher. Minister, the CSIRO states that energy production is the largest contributor to Australia's carbon dioxide output. The government has made it clear that it intends to ram through legislation which would see a reduction in carbon dioxide output of 43%. I am concerned that this will cause energy prices to increase. Australian families are already struggling with the cost of living pressures. Can the minister make the Senate aware of how the government will achieve these cuts in emissions, and will this result in increased power prices for the average Australian?
Thank you, Senator Babet. Minister.
Thank you, President. I thank Senator Babet for the question and also for the heads-up on the question today. And also, I don't think I congratulated you last week on the first question. I know it's your second one because I got you first, so congratulations on both of them. In terms of our plan, the legislation that has passed the House earlier today and will come to the Senate now implements our election commitment to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 43%. We went to the election with very detailed modelling on how we would achieve that. The Powering Australia plan, which is available to all online, but the clear impact of that modelling showed that if we were to implement it, which is to ensure that we are building a new grid to enable 82% renewable energy by 2030, that we are providing the investment certainty that is needed to allow those investment dollars to flow and to invest in new energy technology, to invest in solar banks, community batteries, to build the workforce, to also reduce taxes on electric vehicles, that it would also put downward pressure on energy prices. Now, I think we all accept that the previous government did nothing for 9 years and left us in a situation where we have escalating electricity prices, in particular, that they hid from the community before the last election, 19.7% increase in electricity prices. Our plan, which is the cheapest form of energy at the moment, is renewable energy. The cost of coal is expected to be $141, gas $133 by 2030. In contrast, the cost of renewables, which we want to invest in, is $63
Thank you, Minister. Your time has
per megawatt hour.
Senator Babet, first supplementary.
According to the CSIRO, energy production accounts for approximately 33% of Australia's total carbon dioxide output. What other sectors will be taxed or potentially axed in order to achieve your 2030 target?
Minister.
Thank you. And our plan details how we would achieve the 43% reduction by 2030, which doesn't involve tax or axe. It's a comprehensive and transparent plan. It involves modernising Australia's ageing electricity grid through the Rewiring the Nation plan, the $3 billion investment in renewable metals, renewable energy, component manufacturing, renewable hydrogen, electrolysers, 85 solar banks, 400 community batteries, and investments in our workforce to make sure that we have the workforce to deliver on those. 604,000 jobs, 5 out of 6 of them in the region, $76 billion worth of investment. This is the opportunity that the Australian people need their government to seize, to drive jobs, to lower power prices, to invest in the new technologies of the future and ensure that we can seize the energy improvements that we need to bring down our greenhouse gas emissions.
Thank you, Minister. Your time has expired. Senator Babet, second supplementary.
Agriculture accounts for approximately 14.6% of carbon dioxide output. Can the minister guarantee our hard-working farmers that the government will not sacrifice their livelihoods in order to achieve any of these targets?
Minister.
Again, thank you, and thanks Senator Babet for the question. We've been upfront about our plans. We won't be cutting agricultural production. The National Farmers Federation supports our updated targets. There are huge opportunities, I think, in the agricultural sector. I know that Minister Watt is engaging with all of the stakeholders on those, and we have broad-ranging support right across industry for this plan because they know after 10 years of this lot, they see what's happening out there, they see the opportunities, the jobs and the improvements for their areas that will come from having a government that can provide industry with the certainty they need to make the investments and make the change that is coming. It's not only important for our power bills and prices, it's important for jobs and it's important for those essential industries like agriculture who will be part of the change.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Green.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Farrell. As Australia is a proud sporting nation, and I'm sure senators across the chamber are watching closely the performance of the Australian team at the Birmingham Commonwealth Games. Can the minister update the Senate on the performance of the Australian Commonwealth Games team in Birmingham?
Minister. No, I've given you the call. Sorry, Minister.
Thank you, President, and thank Senator Green for that question. I know she's an avid sports fan and will be looking forward to the Olympics in her great state of Queensland in just under 10 years' time. But yes, I can give you some good news there, Senator. Australia is leading the medal board at the Birmingham Games. Too many medalists to name them all today, but I'll just go through a few highlights. Emma McKeon is the greatest Commonwealth Games athlete of all times, with 14 total medals and 6 won at these Games. Ariana Titmus finished her extraordinary Games campaign with gold and Games record in the 400-metre freestyle. Sprinter Evan O'Hanlon claimed the Australian athletics team's 200th Commonwealth Games gold medal. Oh, now, Senator Birmingham, how could you say that? That's an adverse reflection. Birmingham Commonwealth Games. Our oldest team member and national treasure, 63-year-old lawn bowler Cheryl Linfield, has made a remarkable Commonwealth Games debut at that age, winning the silver medal with her partner Serena Bonnell. We wish the remaining participants all the best for the rest of these Games and look forward to greeting them triumphantly when they return to Australia, which hopefully will be very soon to a glorious reception.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Green, first supplementary.
Thanks, President. Thank you to the Minister for that fantastic news. Many of today's Commonwealth Games athletes owe their success to the previous investment by Australian governments in grassroots sports. Can the Minister outline the importance of proper investment in grassroots sports for the success of our Commonwealth Games teams?
Minister.
Thank you, President, and thanks once again for that very incisive question from Senator Green. And yes, I can tell you a little bit about the matter that you raised. Grassroots sport investment has been a feature of Australian governments at both the federal and state level, and certainly was so under Minister Colbeck, who's probably now very proud about our achievements in Birmingham. Sporting clubs promote and train junior athletes who are the future representatives of our country. Those future sports stars rely on change rooms, ovals, lightings that sporting grants programs have provided. In those sporting clubs that have put their faith in government to provide unbiased funding through a fair system across the board. I'd like to acknowledge our new Sports Minister, who took over from me.
Thank you, Minister. Your time
Annika
has
Wells.
expired. Senator Green, second supplementary.
Thank you, Minister. And after such positive news, I really do regret to ask this, but has there been anything which has negatively impacted investment in grassroots sporting teams across Australia, which may put at risk the performance of the Australian Commonwealth Games team into the future?
Minister.
What could that be?
Thank you, President. Look, thank you, Senator Green, for that question. Look, I am disappointed to go back into time, but who could forget the sports rorts affair of this former government and the so-called colour-coded spreadsheets, which we still haven't yet got an explanation for. And despite an inquiry that was conducted by Assistant Minister Chisholm, we still haven't got answers to what went on there. And all of the electorates—
Minister, please resume your seat. Senator Ruston.
Yeah.
Senator Watt.
Yeah, we just thought we'd let you dig your own grave.
I'm waiting to call Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much, President. I was just wondering, on the matter of relevance, whether the minister thought that our Paralympians were relevant of maybe a mention.
That's not a point of order. Thank you, Minister. Senator Green.
Of course they are, Senator Ruston, and their achievements have been absolutely amazing as well. And thank you for drawing that. Well, I don't ask the questions. Senator Green asked the questions.
Senators,
the electorates that missed out for being on the wrong side of the...
Thank you, Minister. Your time has expired. Please resume your seat. Order. Order. Senator Brockman.
Thank you, Madam President. My question is to the Minister for, wait for it, Trade and Tourism, Senator Farrell. I refer the Minister...
Order.
I refer the Minister to the importance of technical innovations in land management, agronomics and seed varieties. Will the Minister guarantee that trade agreements and negotiations will not contain any provisions that detrimentally impact Australian farmers' ability to access the most modern farming techniques?
Thank you, Senator Brockman. Minister.
Well, I certainly will stand up for Australian farmers and manufacturers and wine producers and barley producers, meat producers, crayfish producers, all the people that you have failed to look after over the last 9 years.
Order.
What a disgrace! When we lost those markets. When we lost those markets
Order.
to the sort of farmers that Senator Brockman is talking about on the Eyre Peninsula or the York Peninsula, who make amazing products, we are going to look after them. And I can assure Senator Brockman that in every single free trade agreement that we enter into, we will ensure the interests of our farmers are protected in a way that was never ever done by the former government in the last 9 years. Now, I can tell you a few things about this, Senator Brockman. Look, this government, this opposition, when they were in government, negotiated a free trade agreement with the United Kingdom that would have very significantly benefited both farmers in your state, Senator Brockman, and farmers in my state. What happened? That was negotiated. What happened? That was negotiated last December. Exactly. There are requirements under our legislation to implement those free trade agreements.
Minister, please resume your seat. Order. 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 Senator O'Neill. Senator Brockman.
My question did not refer to what occurred under the previous government. We are asking...
What's your point
You're going to laugh about the importance of trade agreements to Australian agriculture.
Thank you, Senator
What?
Senator
You're
Brockman.
going to laugh about that.
Senator Brockman, resume your seat. Order. There is no point of order because Senator Farrell is being relevant. Please continue.
Thank you, President. I thought they were being so well behaved. I wasn't sure why it was, but look, I can tell you that free trade agreement was negotiated last year, and by all accounts, it was a very good agreement. I'm not criticising the agreement, but not a single step.
Senator Farrell, please resume your seat. Senator Birmingham.
Point of order, President, both in terms of relevance to the question asked by Senator Brockman, but also in terms of honesty, seeing as members of the Joint Standing Committee on Treaties from the Labor Party who wanted more hearings and delayed conclusion of consideration of that.
Senator Birmingham. I am order. Senator O'Neill. I am going to remind senators that a point of order is not an opportunity to debate points. You make your point of order, I make a ruling which you may or may not agree with, and then we continue on. I believe that the minister is being relevant. He's got 5 seconds remaining. Please continue, Minister.
Senator Brockman, I'll guarantee and I'll ensure that we look after all of the—
Thank you, Minister. Your time has expired. Senator Brockman, first supplementary.
Will the minister guarantee to protect the right of Australian farmers to use important agricultural chemicals such as glyphosate and atrazine that have been approved by the Australian regulator and used by Australian dryland farmers to prevent erosion and preserve soil moisture?
Thank you, Senator Brockman. Minister.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Senator Brockman, for your question. We'll continue to do exactly what we've said we would do in opposition, and that we are now in government, and that is ensure that we negotiate the best possible free trade agreements, free trade. Flashback.
Order.
Flashback. Well, let
Order.
me. I'll take.
Minister. Minister. Order.
I'll take that intervention
Minister.
because let me
Minister
tell you, Senator Birmingham.
Minister, I have asked you to resume your seat, and I would ask senators, particularly on this side, Senator Cash, Senator Brockman, I will come to you. I will ask you to listen quietly and not be so disorderly that it took me about 4 times shouting to sit the minister down. Now, Senator Brockman.
On a point of order, Madam President. On a point of order.
Yes.
The question was very narrow on direct relevance. The question was very narrow. Glyphosate and atrazine, dryland farmers. The minister has gone nowhere near it.
I believe that a minister is being relevant, but quite frankly, with the disorderly shouting and carrying on, particularly from the left, it was impossible for me to hear the minister. Minister, you have 21 seconds remaining, and I believe you have been relevant, and I would expect you to remain relevant to the question. Please continue.
Yeah, thank you, President, for that exhortation, and I certainly will continue to remain relevant. Senator Cash, calm down, Senator Cash. We will do everything we can in terms of our international negotiations. This morning, I met with all of the ambassadors.
Thank you, Minister. Your time has expired. Senator Brockman.
Will the minister guarantee to protect the right of Australian farmers to use GM technology, such as genetically modified canola, which is approved by the Australian regulator for use by Australian grain farmers?
Thank you, Senator Brockman. Minister.
Thank you, President, and thank Senator Brockman for the question. I won't disappoint Senator Cash. I met with all of the European ambassadors this morning to discuss the very subject matter that you're talking about in terms of a European free trade agreement. These discussions allow both parties to raise issues. From our point of view, we'll be seeking to represent the best interests of all our agricultural producers, as well as manufacturers and everybody else, our miners, all of those groups who've got an interest in this free trade agreement. We intend to get the best possible results for this country. That includes everybody who works in the farming sector.
Senator McGrath.
Yes, well, you can take
Senator McGrath.
You can take it as a guarantee, Senator McGrath, because
thank you, Minister. Your time has expired.
The skills.
Minister.
Time's up.
Order. Order.
I ask that further questions be placed on the notice paper.
Thank you.